How's it going, everyone? It's Caleb Limited here, and today, for this episode of our Halloween Marathon, we're going to be talking about Monster House on the GameCube. This is actually not something I talk about very often. I don't talk about the GameCube very often, but I'm trying to talk about it more on the channel, and I picked up this game for Halloween. I figured this would be a great one to play through. I watched the movie a long time ago. I think I was probably in elementary school last time I saw this movie, so it had been a long time, but I actually really enjoyed playing through this game. It's a fun little third-person shooter. I didn't actually expect it to be a third-person shooter when I first saw it, but I was pleasantly surprised, and it's actually pretty fun. Honestly, if you're trying to get your kid into third-person horror games, even Resident Evil and stuff like this probably wouldn't be a bad game to start them off on. It's actually pretty fun, and even if you are just looking for a fun, short little third-person shooter for Halloween, this is a pretty good one, honestly. I actually enjoyed it. It's not very long. It's only 3 hours, but what's there in that 3 hours of time is actually still really fun. So this is obviously based off of the movie called Monster House, and this game cuts straight to the meat of the game. It cuts straight to the meat of the story. It doesn't beat around the bush. It kicks you right off into the monster house. So you start up this game, you are in the monster house, and the whole point of this game is you are trying to escape the monster house. You're trying to find a way to defeat the monster house, and you get to play as all three of the main characters. Each one has their own special ability that they can use. So you have one character that has this, basically, I guess you call it a water balloon launcher is basically what it is on his squirt gun. So you can use a water balloon launcher. One has a camera, and you can take a picture of the enemies, and when he does, it will use the flash on the camera, and it will basically stun the enemies, and that will be a good opening for you to start shooting at them. And then the girl, she has a slingshot, and the slingshot just does a lot of damage, and it can also break locks, so it's a really useful weapon as well in this game. And all of their guns actually behave differently as well, all of their squirt guns. The main characters is a more fully automatic rifle style squirt gun. It's a constant stream that you can get eventually. You can actually keep upgrading his over and over again, and you can get to the point where it's basically just a constant stream of water, and that's a pretty cool one. There's another one that's basically a shotgun. That one's pretty cool as well. And then the girls is basically just a regular pistol style squirt gun. So I like all of the differences between the characters, though. It gives you a good reason to play as the different characters. It's going to make you play as the different characters either way. You'll just kind of take turns as each character, because it will be in a different part of the house each time. But it makes you want to play as the other characters and just see what they have to offer. So I think that's pretty cool, actually. The actual design of the game, like I said, it's a third-person shooter. You're walking around these hallways, and the furniture is coming alive and attacking you and stuff like that. You have to destroy the furniture and try to get to the root of what's causing all this in the house. And I like the gameplay. The gameplay is pretty fun. A lot of the monsters are pretty easy to fight. There's not really a whole lot of difficulty in this game, if I'm being honest. The only difficulty really comes at the boss fights, and there's only 2 boss fights in the entire game, and honestly, they're not even really that bad. It just takes a minute to figure out what they're doing and how to defeat them, but once you figure that out, it's really easy to blaze right through them. But that's really the only stuff in this game that may give you a little bit of a hard time at first. Just once you figure out how to defeat an enemy, and you realize how to defeat it, it's pretty much smooth sailing from there. One thing that you might keep in mind is that this game does have quite a bit of QuickTime events, and some people aren't a huge fan of QuickTime events. I don't mind them personally. I don't really have any problem with them. I will say, since I'm not super familiar with the GameCube controller, it did take me a few seconds to realize what button to press. So, there's a few times where I pressed the wrong button just because I'm not used to the GameCube layout at all. But I will say this game probably helped me learn the GameCube layout quite a bit, so, I didn't mind the QuickTime events too much. And the only thing I will say about the environment of the house that I wasn't a huge fan of is that I do think they reused a lot of the house a bit too often, but it was never to the point where I was, mad at the game or thought it was, really just over the top. But I do wish that they wouldn't have used the same areas as much as they did. This game does a good job of capturing kind of a creepy vibe and just a really good atmosphere. It definitely has that kind of horror, spooky atmosphere. And, even when you're walking down the hallways and stuff, you're like, oh, if this was a, M-rated game, and they actually just, changed some of the characters around and, changed what the actual monsters were, and the monsters were actually, actual monsters instead of just furniture, you could play this and be like, wow, this could actually be a pretty hardcore like horror game. A lot of people would actually like this, but it's actually, since it's Monster House, it's more of like marketed for a like kid audience and a family friendly audience, and it still works though. Like, honestly, I think even if you can get past the fact that like this is a movie tie-in game and you just play it for what it is, it's really good. It actually is surprisingly good. The shooting mechanics are great. How you lock on to enemies is great, especially because like I'm not very good with the GameCube. Like I'm trying to get used to the controller and stuff. But the way that it works in this game, where you can just like lock on to enemies and stuff, it works great for the GameCube. So I really enjoyed that. You know, the puzzles that are in this game are easy, but they are fun, and I enjoyed doing all of those as well. So this game actually does have a lot of good stuff to offer, and it offers it in a perfect package for Halloween. So I really do like it. I think that this might be a hidden gem, honestly. The voice acting in this game is actually really darn good. The sound design, for the most part, is pretty darn good. Every now and then when you're firing a squirt gun, mainly the main character, the main kid squirt gun, whenever you're using his, like, it's sometimes, I feel like the stream of water that you're shooting should make a constant noise, and it just doesn't, and that kind of bothered me a little bit. But for the most part, the sound design is pretty darn good. The actual enemy mechanics are really fun. I enjoyed all of the enemies and everything. They all have their own different like attack abilities and their own behavior and stuff, so I like all of that. You can dodge enemy attacks as well, but I never got good at dodging attacks, if I'm being honest. A lot of the time, I would just take the attacks, get hit, and then I would try to find health items. Like, you can find little health pickups to heal your character. You can find, like, soda cans lying around and stuff, and you can basically use those as health. And then you can also find, like, ice cream later on and stuff like that to get all your health back. So, just keep an eye out for healing materials after a fight. There's plenty of them laying around in this game, so all of that stuff's good. And overall, I think the majority of this game is good. Now, it's not perfect by any means. There's definitely some issues, like the music. I'm not a huge fan of the music, if I'm being honest, but again, that might be music from the actual movie itself. It's been so long since I've seen the movie, I don't remember. But personally, the music wasn't great to me. It was a little bit distracting in some of the boss scenes, because I'm just like, this guy's music's kind of anticlimactic for the scene, but it's not a huge deal overall when you consider it. And it doesn't run perfectly, like its frame rate isn't perfect. It's still plenty playable, but you will notice, like, when there's a lot of stuff going on the screen, it may drop a little bit. Like, you may feel some frame rate drops and everything, and you may notice it, but it's not too bad. It's definitely still 100% playable, and it was never to the point where I was just like, oh, I can't play this. Like, it is 100% plenty playable, and I think that this is overall just a really fun game. And another cool thing that this game has to offer is that it actually has a secondary mini game in it, and you can collect tokens in the main story by breaking stuff and, like, you know, breaking crates and stuff, and you can find tokens, and you can use these tokens to play this mini game on the main menu called Thou Art Dead. And Thou Art Dead is basically its own completely different game. It looks like a Castlevania style game. It's really interesting. It's like a Castlevania inspired little 2D side-scrolling game that you can actually play within this game. And honestly, it could probably have a review all to its own, but it's pretty fun too. You know, you just run around as this little warrior with an axe. You're able to, like, pick up upgrades. There's upgrades that will just kill all the enemies on screen. You can take the axe and you can throw it across the screen and, like, wipe out enemies. It's really fun, and there's even continues and everything. So, honestly, I could probably make a whole video dedicated to that as well, because this little game inside Monster House called Thou Art Dead is fantastic. Now, the only thing to really talk about other than that is the replay value. Is there any replay value here? I would probably play it again, just because it is so short that it wouldn't bother me to play it again. And also, there is some collectibles in this game. You can find these little, like, monkeys, you know, the monkeys that have the symbols that clap. You can find those monkeys around, and you can collect those. You basically see them, and then they'll start to clap, and you kind of just have to, like, stand by them for a second for them to actually start clapping. And then once they start doing that, it will count as a collected item. So, once you get that, you know, I think you get some, like, extras in the main menu and stuff like that, but I guess it is something just to get you to play the game again, you know, if you want to look for more of them. I found over half of them, and honestly, I did a lot of exploring, so I don't know where the other ones would be, but they do hide them pretty well, so keep that in mind. But overall, I love this game. I actually really had a good time with this game. I'm kind of surprised how good it was, but it's a pretty competent little third-person shooter. You know, it's not the most intense thing in the world, but if you are looking for just a fun, family-friendly Halloween game this year, this is a great one. I honestly can't recommend this game enough. Now, I picked this game up for $18. You know, It's a GameCube game, so it's going to cost a little bit more if you pick it up on GameCube compared to other systems. But honestly, I'm happy with that price. I'm not mad about that price. I think that's actually a pretty good price for the game. I had fun with it, and I could see myself going back and playing it again. I think this is a nice little third-person shooter, and I didn't expect it to be nearly as good as it was. So, very happy with that. So, go check out Monster House on the GameCube, and also check out, if you do play this game, check out that minigame Thou Art Dead. It's actually surprisingly good as well. So, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.